Check, check. Check, check, check. All right, it's going to be a minute or two. We're going to get into this. Going to give a few more moments for people to come on in. Going to have some stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about a little bit about the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. We're going to talk about the Eagles because the Eagles got their new offensive coordinator. Going to talk a little bit how AI technology is getting a little bit out of hand nowadays, and that's kind of putting it lightly. But we'll get to it in just a minute. So, without any further, hope you guys are having a good night. Give another minute to come on in. All right, yep, and then, we're going to talk a little bit of football. First, going to talk a little about football, talk a little bit about a certain person whose domestic violence history is out of hand, and yeah, but it's mostly going to be the main subject. So, yeah, man, I mean, we got the Eagles news just broke today. I mean, it's not necessarily with off Eagles offensive coordinator, the guy we were necessarily hoping they would get, but it is an offensive coordinator nonetheless, so we will talk about it. So without any, so we're gonna do that right there. Oh yeah, so, so take a minute, see what's up. Oh my goodness, so. Man, Eagles, it is a little bit out of hand right now. So we're going to start off, before we really dive into the Eagles, talk a little bit about, there's the one guy, I've talked about him before on my channel. I know I said it before, and it feels like I'm beating a dead horse with this one, but it's something that we got to talk about, because this guy's been having issues left and right, particularly when it comes to domestic violence, domestic disputes. I know I talked about it again, but I'm going to talk about it here because just yesterday, finally, Gervonta Tank Davis was arrested on charges of on an assault charge, a case that happened back in October. Now, I reported that he had an arrest warrant out, but this is the first time since I reported that I'm here to discuss. Yes, because yesterday he was arrested officially after about 2 weeks of his warrant being out. He was arrested closer to his native Miami, Florida. I'm telling you, this guy's he's got to really get his life together, seriously. He should seriously step away from boxing, period, for a while, because he can't control his behavior anymore. This is now, in the past year, well, he had 2 fights canceled in the past year, so that's 2 big paydays from his sport he missed out on because of it. First, he had the incident where there was an incident that was in the spring going into the summer. There was a reported domestic dispute, and then that ultimately caused his boxing fight in the summer to get canceled. And then after that, in October last year, there was an incident that caused the scheduled fight between him and Jake Paul that would have been a big money one to get canceled as a result. So that's 2 big paychecks now. He's got to really step aside and get it together. And for the people out there saying, man, well, this guy, he lied. Some people lie, this and that. But this guy, remember, has had, his 4th different assault charge? Yeah, he's gotten some slap on the wrist. He's gotten the benefit of the doubt before. But after a while, when there's so many charges against you, you got 5, 6 different cases against you, you can't really get the benefit of the doubt anymore. It's like, all right, how many more times can one person get the benefit of the doubt for something when they're the common denominator? It's like, there's only so many people that could, okay, maybe once I could see, okay, maybe it's a false accusation. Maybe I could see somebody's not giving accurate details, but after a while, you get to, 4th or 5th different accusation of doing something inappropriate. You're obviously doing something wrong here. And now Gervonta Tank Davis is starting to face the consequences of it. I mean, this is just, look, like I said, okay, I could see it's either an isolated incident or maybe a false accusation, but, 4 or 5 separate incidents, separate accusations, nah, those aren't just isolated incidents and accusations. That's clearly something's going on, and he needs to clearly step aside from boxing for a while to at least get himself together psychologically, because this is just a reoccurring problem over and over and over again. So, I mean, for Tank Davis, the best thing for him to do is step aside. And he also needs a serious punishment, too, because obviously the slap on the wrist punishments he's been getting for this, such as, like the basic slap on the wrist, such as, like, parole or getting the benefit of the doubt, isn't working anymore. So now that he's finally been arrested, we'll see if this time around they finally put serious charges on him. So we'll keep that story followed. But the main thing I did want to talk about today is for my football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. The news broke earlier today. It was about 4 hours ago. The Eagles finally got their new offensive coordinator. Now, it wasn't the guy we had hoped for. It wasn't a guy like established guy like a Brian Daboll, or somebody else with an established name, such as, it wasn't him. It wasn't Mike McDaniel. Those guys already accepted offensive coordinator openings elsewhere. So instead, we got Sean Mannion, the former Packers quarterback coach from last season, who he was with Jordan Love. He was with the Packers coaching staff for 2 years. He played at Oregon for a bit. He was mainly a career backup quarterback in the NFL. So he's still a relatively young coach. So we got to wait and see what's going to happen with him, though. But as far as he goes, though, we haven't seen him ever call plays before. So he has no history as a play caller. So I don't really know what to expect from him. So it's going to be interesting there. But obviously we couldn't get the guys we wanted, so we had to go for Sean Mannion, a guy who's never been an offensive coordinator before, it appears as if he's the guy who wanted a promotion. He knew he was going from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator, and he accepted it. Now, he's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never called plays for an NFL team before, which is actually, to me, on one hand, that's a bit concerning, because remember the last offensive coordinator we had, and Kevin Patullo, who just got pretty much roasted by all the Eagles fans as one of the worst things that has happened for us as far as a coordinator goes. And ultimately, we saw that worked out with Kevin Patullo, a guy who had never been an offensive coordinator. He was atrocious with a team that was fresh off a Super Bowl win and had one of the best offenses on paper. So my concern is that it's going to be another type of situation here. And remember, this is a guy who's never called plays, because unlike a Kellen Moore, who actually had experience calling plays, particularly, he had that experience before. Then eventually, so with the Eagles, when we had Kellen Moore, we had a guy who had experience calling plays, and that played a big role in that 2024 Super Bowl run, particularly with us making Saquon the main focal point of the offense, and ultimately on that dominant run, and sure enough, we were Super Bowl champs. But then Kellen Moore got the Saints coaching a job, and unfortunately, he wasn't there for us anymore in that role. And then with Kevin Patullo, it was a train wreck. And now I'm a little worried with Mannion that's going to be kind of a similar situation, where Sirianni's the one who's going to have all the influence. He's the one who's going to be calling the plays and calling all the shots, kind of similar to what happened with Kevin Patullo. So, because this guy has no experience calling plays, it comes across as potentially a Nick Sirianni right-hand man type of hire. This is the guy who Nick Sirianni is a fan of, so ultimately he's going to get the job. I hope there's more to the story than that, but that's what it appears thus far. But we still got to wait and see what he does. Now, with Green Bay, with Jordan Love, Jordan Love, during that one season he was the quarterback's coach, Jordan Love, to be fair, did limit the interceptions. He went from having, he went and limited it down to only about 6 interceptions per season. So he tends to go from double digits to under double digits interceptions. So he did do something right in that regard, but we don't necessarily, at the same time though, I don't know how it's going to pan out, but yes, just because the Green Bay Packers offense did all right under him as their, right, because Jordan Love did solid statistically with him as the quarterback's coach, doesn't mean that's going to translate over. Now, to him being a coordinator. And this is not, don't give me that comparison to Andy Reid, because there's two way different situations. Andy Reid, when he was the quarterback's coach for the Packers, he had dealing with a 3 back-to-back regular season MVP and Brett Favre there. So Andy Reid had at least enough credibility having been a coach on that staff as the quarterback's coach with Favre. With Jordan Love, you're talking about a guy in Mannion. He was only the quarterback's coach for one season. And Jordan Love's never really had a true elite season. He's been more of a game manager thus far throughout his career. So there's no real green flag like there was when Andy Reid went from quarterback's coach of the Packers to the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is not even close to the same situation. Not even close. But we haven't even, to be fair, again, the contract's only been signed. It's hard to give the benefit of the doubt when we haven't seen any we haven't been given any true reason to give him the benefit of the doubt. We haven't been given anything in terms of, we haven't seen anything spectacular with this guy. So I'm kind of skeptical in that front. But, obviously, stranger things have happened, so hopefully this works out. Hopefully it works out, but we got to wait and see. But, oh, man, yeah. So, Sean Mannion, I'll at least have to give him a chance at least, but I'm not too optimistic about it right off the bat. So we'll have to wait and see about that one. But I was hoping for a guy but I gotta wonder if all the rumors about Sirianni being a controller and wanting yes people may have been a reason why. Or did the Eagles pass on him because Sirianni is a type of coach that likes yes people around him? Is that why ultimately the Eagles didn't go for a guy like a Mike McDaniel or a Brian Daboll, or was it just rotten luck? Those guys, maybe, or did the Chargers get to him first? In Mike McDaniel's case, did the Titans get to Brian Daboll first? Or, these are just questions I'm asking. I don't know for sure, but we just got to wait and see right there. But I'm not too up. But right now, I would have preferred we at least got a guy who had some experience with play calling at some point. Because I did not get that. Because we're not getting that at all with Sean Mannion. But like I said, hopefully, though, it somehow works out. If he can just be better than Kevin Patullo, then at least that's a reason to be optimistic. Again, we got to wait and see on that front, but hey, time will tell on that one, so we'll just have to give it time. But there are other subjects I did want to talk about, too. One of them is I've been noticing, we all know it's a big role in our lives, AI. And particularly when it comes to sports, I feel like AI has been kind of getting out of hand. This artificial intelligence wave of sports, particularly being used, I've seen it in all marks. People take photos, particularly AI-generated photos, and try to pass them off as real. We've seen it with, I've noticed it specifically when it comes to, say, I noticed a month ago, here was something big I noticed. There was an AI-generated photo. It was of, it was not Allen Iverson. It was, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Tim Duncan, MJ, Kevin Durant, and all those guys. And it looked like, and Bill Russell too, it looked like a real photo that would have taken place in the late 2010s, like a year or two before Kobe's passing. And so sometimes you get these AI generated photos where people try to pass them off as if they're real. And then unfortunately people share it and run with it. And they act like, they act like it's real, and they don't stop and think about this and wonder and question anything, wonder, wait a minute, if this were real, how come this photo didn't go viral years ago? Because if this photo was actually taken with Magic, with all those guys there, don't you think that photo would have gone viral years ago if you got those players all in one setting? But people, I guess they don't think about it. And this is where I want to give advice to anyone listening to this about trying to figure out whether AI photos are real or fake. These photos are AI generated, are they real? One of those things that can kind of help you figure it out is if it seems too good to be true, it's probably fake and it's probably AI generated. Like with the whole, for perfect example, if you see a photo of supposed NBA, of like an NBA party with a bunch of guys going on. All right, hey, Star Wars, what is up? Thanks for stopping by. And Star Wars is saying the same thing I said. Hopefully this is not Kevin Patullo 2.0. Absolutely not. Because that would be absolutely horrific. I mean, to have a Kevin Patullo 2.0. I mean, and considering this guy has no play calling experience, it is a room for concern. Matter of fact, a legit room for concern, because we don't know necessarily, know what's up with him. I mean, this is a guy, right, now we never called plays before, so that could be both a good and a bit, so that's a potential blessing or a curse. But yeah, if he can just be better than Kevin Patullo, then we're taking a step in the right direction at least. If he can just be a tad bit better. Stop trying to run under shotgun where Saquon is not at his most efficient. So, if we can just do something like that, then that at least gives us a chance. But we ultimately got to wait and see on that one. And back to this AI-generated thing. I see people share these photos that people try to pass off as real as if they are. If you see any photos that look too good to be true, or they're a photo that from a supposed gathering years ago that looks like it might, be too good, it's probably fake then. If you see a supposed gathering of a bunch of sports legends at a party from years ago that you've never seen before, or at least that's the way the photo's presented, it's probably AI generated. Because, in that particular photo I was talking about with, the ones with Kobe, Bill Russell, that photo had, all those guys, Bill Russell, Shaq, Michael Jordan, how they would look in the late 2010s. So someone's trying to pass that off as if this were a real photo, but to the people doing that, ask yourself this question. If this were real, why didn't this photo go viral back in the late 2010s when it happened? Because that's the thing people don't think. If something like this really happened, wouldn't a photo have gone viral if this were real? I mean, those are things that I think people should really ask themselves when it comes to this AI stuff. That's how you can easily identify something as AI, when you realize, oh, wait a minute, this probably is too good to be true. This photo probably isn't real, because this would have been something that went viral had this been real years ago. But some people just don't think. They just mindlessly accept whatever and just go with it. And that's part of the problem, unfortunately, man. Sometimes people they get a little too lazy. They don't think. They don't, they don't think for themselves. They just go along with whatever they're being fed. But hey, man, you know what? Like I said, that's the problem nowadays with AI generated stuff. A lot of people take off photos and try to pass them off as real. I mean, it's one thing, like, I don't mind the stuff that's just strictly for entertainment. Because, like, you take, for example, you get a photo of, like, what if this game happened? Team A versus Team B. Like, and it's like, say, Magic Johnson, like, it's Team A versus Team. Like, say it's like, oh, what if this team played? It's like 4 players, like a 5-team play. Like, okay, that's one thing, but, like, what's Team A versus Team B? Because we know that's just AI. Like, that's entertainment. Like, you just take a bunch of Team A versus Team B, got them all in their jerseys, guys from different eras. Okay, that's fine. That's just for entertainment, for fun. But when people take these photos and try to pass them off as real and pretend these events happened that didn't, that's where it gets a little ridiculous. So that's all I want to say there. Like, if you ever see a photo of a bunch of, like, players at a party or something, and it looks like a photo from a certain year, like 2011, if you've never seen it before, it's probably even not a real photo. So I'll just leave it at that. Like, this AI thing's out of hand. Please be careful before you share this online. But moving on, while we're still on the subject of sports, let's talk a little bit about the Football Hall of Fame, shall we? Because we had 2 big bombshells drop of people that will not be getting in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2026. One of them was a former Super Bowl winning quarterback. That's Eli Manning. It was confirmed earlier that he will not be in the 2026 Hall of Fame. He did not make the final cut. And there's also the shocker that Bill Belichick, in his first ballot, with even 6 Super Bowl wins as a head coach, 2 as a defensive coordinator for the Giants, 8 total, will not be going in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is the real surprise of it all. I remember, a lot of people coming forward, a lot of sports figures, even people that have competed against Belichick, have defended him, saying that he got snubbed. And you think about it, I'm really surprised he did not get first ballot. I mean, you already know Bill Belichick's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's ranked up there amongst the greatest, like the George Salases, the Don Shulas of the world, the Vince Lombardis. How would you not put him in the Hall of Fame? I mean, why not just do it, put him in now, get it over with? I don't understand. That one I'm really shocked by. Now, in the Eli Manning one, I get, because the big gripe Hall of Fame voters are going to hold against Eli Manning is, well, Eli wasn't the best quarterback of his era. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger were all better all-around quarterbacks, and that's going to be a gripe that's used. But that's a valid gripe to say, okay, yeah, maybe some people think he's Giants Team Hall of Fame, but not Pro Football Hall of Fame for that very reason. I get it. Fair enough, but this whole thing about, that's right there I get. But in Bill Belichick's case, what are the Hall of Fame voters holding against him? Like, I think I gotta wonder if there's some personal vendetta here with that one, because I'm really trying to figure out in what way do Hall of Fame voters really think Bill Belichick is not a Hall of Fame coach? That one just doesn't make any sense. But I'm really scratching my head on that one. I mean, I get it, but I mean, I can look at the Hall of Fame class. You got Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald. I get it. I get Brees being a first ballot, Larry Fitzgerald. I get that one, all good and well, but not even Bill Belichick? I mean, you know what I think? Unfortunately, you know what it is too, though? I'm not saying that this is true, but I'm saying, you know what I think is going on? Hall of Fame voters are looking at what happened with Belichick's years as a coach without Brady, and they're forming the narratives that that Brady made Belichick, and that it was Tom Brady was the reason he got as far as he did, which, like I said, I don't agree with that narrative. I think that's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, that's a narrative people are forming, and I think that's the reason why almost sudden, that's the reason why he's not getting in, because some people got that belief. They think that it was really Tom Brady, which I personally believe both sides played a role in it. Look, both Brady and Belichick were crucial in that relationship. It was a codependent relationship. I don't care what anybody wants to say. It was really a codependent relationship between Brady and Belichick as far as those two coaches, as player and coach goes. But yeah, I kind of get that. Brady played, I do believe this for sure. Tom Brady in the later years played a key role in the team's continued success as long as it did. When, in the later years when Belichick, some of those late drafts with Belichick weren't that great, and you kind of saw it get exposed. The poor drafts that Belichick had get exposed in the later years. When, Brady wasn't there, all of a sudden you're like, some of those drafts weren't that great. We jokingly call Tom Brady the greatest eraser in sports, in part because it seems like he played a key vital role in keeping those teams functional without the greatest rousters in the world. So, personally, I think that, yeah, Tom Brady did play a role in their continued success later on. So, there is that. But, ultimately, and at the end of the day, though, look, both guys played a key role in that success. But, yeah, Tom Belichick definitely deserves it. I mean, don't tell me that Belichick didn't play a role in it. Those defenses he put together, first, as a defensive coordinator with Parcells, he played kind of a role in keeping the glue together there. With whatchamacallit, right, he played a role there. And then also you saw, not just there, but you also got as well, so you have that right there. You also had as well, it wasn't just that, you also had the later years too. Yeah, but then the early years, that defense was mainly the main thing right there in the Patriots dynasty. It was the Belichick, kind of with that defense with like Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Rodney Harrison, and those guys. They played a key role in those early years. When Tom Brady was good, but he wasn't at his true best as an individual player. That defensive mentality with Belichick, with those guys there, like I said, McGinnis, Seymour, Harrison, Ty Law, and them, Asante Samuel Sr. played a key role in that as well. So there was that. So there's that part of it. So you got to realize something. So I do think, yeah, some people they let their recency bias stand in the way. Because look, Bill Belichick's a Hall of Fame coach, and he was snubbed, ultimately, in this case. I mean, will he eventually get in? Of course he will. He'll get in. Definitely make no mistake about it. Bill Belichick's going in the coaching Pro Football Hall of Fame as a coach no matter what. This might be a little bit longer than expected. So, I mean, yeah, but as far as like Eli Manning goes, I get it, because if you're just looking at player standpoint alone, guys like Larry Fitzgerald and Drew Brees deserve the nod over him just from a player standpoint. So I do think Eli might get in one day because of the importance of those Super Bowl wins, but I think it's going to take time before he finally does get voted to the Hall. So I do think it'll happen. It's just going to take time. I don't think it'll be slam dunk right away. So we just got to wait and see. But, it's going to give us plenty to discuss. We got plenty of time. We got to wait and see how this Hall of Fame thing plays out. Wait and see about the Super Bowl. It's going to be interesting. But we just got to wait and see how it plays out. But in the meantime, man, hey, I'm not really going to have a whole lot to say right now. So I'll just call it here. Thanks for tuning in. Star Wars Daniel. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great night. It's boy Nicky Steve signing off, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.